Hi, welcome back to Amazement Square Anywhere. I'm Miss Ann, and I'm here for another WonderArt Day with you. And you're probably wondering, what are we going to do with flowers and hammers? Well, this is a pretty cool project because you don't have to have paint or markers or crayons or any of the usual things. We're going to get the dye out of these flowers by smashing them with a hammer. And for years and years, thousands of years, human beings have made dyes for clothing and other fabrics by cooking down or smashing up plant material. So we're going to do the same thing today, but we're going to do it with paper, and we're going to make a design on paper. So I have a variety of flowers that I've picked this morning. And when you're picking flowers, please always use little scissors, because if you pull too hard, sometimes you pull the whole plant out of the ground, and all we need is a couple little blooms. So I have these that grew in my yard because I don't use any weed killers. They grow all through my grass, and I kind of like it that way. This one's called Purple Dead Nettle. And if you look very closely, there's little teeny tiny purple flowers, and it has these soft fuzzy green leaves. I've got these little blooms here that are actually wild strawberries. The flower looks like this, and then when the petals fall off, you get a little yellow ball that eventually becomes a little teeny tiny strawberry. They don't taste very much, but the wild animals really like those. Also, I found a whole field this morning on my way to the museum that was all buttercups growing in the grass. And I just went in there with my little scissors and picked a few of these, so we have that example. And I also found these growing in the grass. These are just common violets. I have two different colors. This one looks more blue and white, and this one looks more purple. So I'm thinking there might be more dye in this one. And I even brought along a leaf from the violets because I thought we could always use a little green, right? These little purple flowers came from a vinca vine. And then I have some lilac examples. Now the lilacs I found are just beginning to open to their blooms. Most of them are still in bud form, but I found two different kinds. There's a darker purple and then this very pale, almost pink kind. And then I have these hydrangea blossoms. Usually when you see hydrangeas, it's a big ball-shaped flower with a whole bunch of teeny tiny flowers, and I only needed a few, so I just snipped them very carefully. These come from a native redbud tree. These grow wild all over the place near where we are here in Virginia, and I just snipped a few of those. This one is from a dogwood tree. Sometimes you see dogwoods and they have white blossoms. You're not going to get any dye there unless there's some in the yellow part in the middle. And I've got some azalea bush blossoms. And this one is from a bush called a fringe tree bush. Doesn't it look like fringe? It's in the same family as the yellow saffron that's used in cooking sometimes. It even has pretty purple leaves. If you look at the leaves, they're even colored. And then finally, I found wild mustard out along the road. This just grows wild in a lot of places near where we live. So we're going to see which ones have the kind of dye that will give us an impression on our paper. Now, I'm going to use a rubber mallet. Rubber mallets sort of have a not quite as hard as a steel hammer type end on it. But if you don't have a mallet, that's okay. You could use a hammer. If you have a tiny little hammer, even that will work. You could even use a piece of an old furniture leg, but don't tear the furniture apart to get to it. Or you can hit things with a rock or even a wooden toy block. Just remember that when you're hitting things, you can break things. So make sure that you've got a very sturdy surface where you're working. Maybe you can do it outside on the sidewalk or on a really strong table like the one I'm using, or put down some cardboard on the floor before you start hammering away. But since my table is nice and strong, I'm going to go right on the table. And we need to use some white paper for this because we want to make sure that the colors show up. This is just plain white computer paper. So I'm going to pick a few of my blossoms. Let's see. Let's go with these pretty purples, my violets, and I'm going to lay them out nice and flat so that they have their flowers all spread out nice. And I'm going to use a little bit of this lilac right there. And I really like this fringe flower and its pretty leaves. So I'm going to put that over here. And I think probably a little bit of yellow would be helpful. So let's do a buttercup, and I don't need the stem, so I'm just going to pinch that off, push it down, and a little bit of this wild mustard. And let's try that purple dead nettle with the unfortunate name. And one vinca flower. All right, now I'm going to cover that up with another piece of paper. Just push it down, kind of flatten them out. And now comes the fun part. Ready? Let me take a peek. Wow, look at that. I pulverized them. So let me peel off the pieces of smashed flour. Just brush them all off. And you can see which ones have more dye and which ones have a little bit less dye. Do you remember which ones were which? There's my lilac right here. There's my vinca. I didn't really smash it very much. Some of these petals didn't even get smashed, but it gave good color. My purple dead nettle just kind of made a smashed mark there. But this fringe flower really turned out. Look at all the color that came off the fringe flower. It's not the same color, but it's okay. I like the color that it turned out. And up here is where I had the violets. Now, even though they're very, very purple, it turned out more of a blue color on my paper. And then I had my buttercup, my poor smashed up buttercup was right here, and it gave a good bit of yellow. And what was down here? Oh, that was my wild mustard, I remember. So let's take a look at the bottom half and see how it turned out. Pull all those off. Come on guys, I'm done with you now. Off you come. Now my paper's a little bit damp because I was smashing it and all the plant juices all came out, but that will dry after a while. So you see the top version and the bottom version. I got a lot of color out of those flowers, didn't I? And even out of the green stems and the leaves too. So now I can just hang these up just the way they are if I like them. I could make this into a card to give to somebody, or I can do something different. Look at this idea I had. I'm going to take just a simple black pen and I'm going to go around them to make them a more defined flower. So I'm going to start here with my purple violets and I'm just going to make a bubbly mark around it. Kind of outline it a little bit. So it's almost like if I had a coloring book page and then I colored it with the flower petals, but I did the color part first and then I drew the page part around it. And I can do that with this one too. I can go like this and make fringy marks because it was fringe flower. And I can outline the stems just to make them show up a little bit more defined. Do you see what a difference that makes? Does it make it look a little bit more like art and less like smashed flowers? I like it. I have one other cool thing you can do. Have you ever seen this kind of dirt? This is our red clay dirt we have here in Virginia. I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. And I'm going to stir it up. Do you know what I'm going to do? Anybody that's ever played outside in the summertime knows how badly this clay soil can stain your clothes. Have you ever had grass stains? Same thing. We have a lot of natural colors out there in our world that we can use to our advantage. So I'm now going to take this red clay mud that I've made right here, and I'm going to paint some stems on my flowers. What do you think? How's that? I wonder if you smashed up a handful of grass and added a little bit of water in it. Could you use that like a paint too? I'll bet you probably could. Maybe if we even take a leaf and kind of crunch it up, can we smear it? Wow, look at that. I just smeared a leaf onto my picture. Let me draw another leaf. I'll put one over here too. Look. Make it a little bit more definition. I can go around it with my pen. What do you think of that? I really want you to try this at home. See what kind of flowers you have around where you live. Remember to use your scissors so you don't hurt the whole plant. Just snip off the pieces that you need and give it a try. I would like it a whole lot if you could send me pictures of what you do, because I'm curious to see what kind of flowers you have and how you could create a picture like this. You think you can do that? Take your pictures and go to amazementsquare.org and put them in our Dropbox under Amazement Square Anywhere, or go to our Facebook page and just drop your pictures into our comments. I really can't wait to see what you can create. And don't forget, come back and see us again at Amazement Square Anywhere.